Today's lesson is what it means when Mercury is in retrograde. Hi, everybody. I'm Roger.
And I'm Helen.
And today we're going to talk a little bit about astronomy and maybe a little bit about fortune-telling and astrology. But we are talking specifically about the planet Mercury, which is the planet in the solar system that is closest to the sun. And we're going to be talking about a concept called retrograde motion, which means it's going in the opposite direction.
Right. And in many cultures, people have ascribed things that happen in their lives or things that happen in society to planetary movements or to things that happen in space. For instance, one might say, well, sure, people are acting strangely these days because there's a full moon. So according to this belief, a full moon is supposed to have some kind of influence on how people act and behave. And here we're going to look at another example, which is what happens when Mercury is in retrograde. So retrograde here is a word, an adjective, that basically means moving backwards.
Right. So, of course, there are different positions of bodies in the sky that determine our lives when the moon is in the 7th house and Mercury aligns with Mars. These are all concepts in astrology. So this could be something you need to know about if you want to know about your future. So let's get to it, everybody. Let's introduce our topic by listening to the introductory paragraph right now.
What it means when Mercury is in retrograde. You leap out of bed and stub your toe. Then you burn your toast and miss the bus. Everything feels out of whack, and maybe it is. After all, Mercury's in retrograde.
So as mentioned before, the title, What It Means When Mercury is in Retrograde, has the word retrograde, which means moving backwards. So I could also say, as an example, the politicians' new policy seemed to be a retrograde step in terms of the economy, which means the politicians' new policy seemed to be going backwards, seemed to be moving backwards in terms of the economy. So that's what retrograde means. Now here, the first sentence of the lesson today says, you leap out of bed and stub your toe. So that's an example of something that might happen to you. You jump out of bed because the alarm clock has sounded and you're late for school. And as you jump out of bed, you stub your toe. When you stub your toe, you hurt your toe by hitting it against something hard.
Exactly. So that can, of course, smart. It can hurt. It can be very painful. So that's happened to me many times. I've stubbed my toes many times, especially my pinky on my foot, and I think I actually broke it a couple of times. And something else bad might happen to you. Then you burn your toast and you miss the bus. Of course, toast is bread that is toasted. I know here in Taiwan you have the term 吐司, which refers to bread that is toasted or not. But in Western culture, or at least in the United States, toast is bread that has been toasted, usually in a toaster. It's been made brown and crunchy. And so sometimes, of course, you toast it too long in the toaster and then you've burned your toast. And who wants to eat black toast? And also, you may have missed the bus. You're supposed to get to the bus stop to take your bus to school, but you missed it. Now you're going to be late and you're going to be in trouble. Oh my goodness, lots of things are not going your way today.
Right. So imagine if all of these things happen to you in one morning. You get out of bed, you hurt your toe, you burn your toast, and then you miss the bus. So if these things happen, you might think everything feels out of whack. So when something feels out of whack, it means that it's not working together properly. Out of whack can refer to machines in a system. So if this machine doesn't work to do what it's supposed to do to contribute to that system of things, then that machine can be said to be out of whack. And when your day isn't going well, when all of these weird things happen, then your day may feel out of whack, and maybe it is out of whack.
Yeah, maybe my bicycle is out of whack because the chain kept leaping off the sprockets and the brakes weren't working very well and it was making all sorts of noise and it was really a bumpy ride. So yeah, maybe my bicycle is out of whack. Maybe something's wrong with it. And yes, maybe your day is out of whack. And maybe that's because Mercury's in retrograde. So yes, everything feels out of whack. After all, perhaps the explanation is that Mercury, the planet Mercury, is moving backwards. It's in retrograde, or at least it looks like it's moving backwards. We'll talk about that in the next paragraph. Let's get to it.
The term Mercury in retrograde refers to when the planet Mercury appears to be moving backwards, which occurs several times annually. In reality, though, Mercury never reverses direction. Rather, Mercury in retrograde is an illusion caused by our perception of Earth's movement in relation to Mercury. It's much like when you pass a car in a slightly faster car, and it looks like the other car is going backwards.
大家好，第二部分我们来介绍副词 annually， 它的意思是每年的或是一年一度的。例如 The town's harvest festival is held annually. 该镇的丰收季每年举办一次。又或者说 Theo and his old college friends meet annually in July. Theo 和他大学的老朋友每年7月都会聚会。另外去掉这个字的字尾 ly 就会变成形容词 annual， 意思是年度的或是一年一次的。例如 Everyone goes out to enjoy the annual spring parade. 大家都出门享受一年一度的春季游行。或者My mother made some fried chicken to bring to our family's annual picnic. 我妈妈做了一些炸鸡，准备带去我们家一年一度的野餐。再来，我们看到动词 reverse， 它的意思是使逆转、使反转，或是使彻底改变、转换，也可以是倒车的意思。例如 I wish I could reverse the decision I made, but unfortunately, it was final. 我希望我可以反转我所做的决定，但不幸的是，它已经是最终结果。又或者说 The treatment reversed the spread of the disease in the patient. 这种疗法彻底改变了那位病人病情扩散的情况。另外，这个字也可以直接做形容词使用，意思是相反的、反向的或是颠倒的。例如 Please pay close attention to the experiment directions because following the steps in the reverse order will affect the result. 请密切注意实验说明，因为按照相反的顺序执行步骤将会影响结果。或者 The reverse side of the paper had some notes on it. 这张纸的背面记录着一些笔记。接下来我们看到名词 illusion， 这个字的意思是错觉、假象，也可以是幻想或是幻觉的意思。例如 Although it looked like the woman on stage disappeared, it was only an illusion. 虽然台上的女子看起来像是消失了，但这只是错觉。或是 Ed has no illusions that his new job will be easy, and he's ready to work very hard. Ed 对他的新工作会很轻松这件事并不抱有幻想，他已经准备好要努力工作。下一个我们看到名词 perception， 它的意思是视觉上的感知或是感觉。例如 My perception of art changed after I took a course in art history. 在学习艺术史课程后，我对艺术的感知产生了改变。又或者说 Drugs will affect your perception and judgment. 毒品将会影响你的感知和判断。
The term Mercury in retrograde refers to when the planet Mercury appears to be moving backwards, which occurs several times annually. So this phrase has a particular reference, and the reference is when the planet Mercury seems to be moving backwards, or it seems to be in retrograde. And this happens several times annually. Annually simply means yearly, every year.
Monthly means every month. Weekly means every week. Daily means every day. You get the idea. And in reality, though, Mercury never reverses direction. So here we've got the word to reverse. being used as a verb, that just means to go in the opposite direction you are going. You're going backwards. So, of course, as you know, if you're learning how to drive a car, the shift lever will have the letter R there, and you know that means reverse, to go backwards.
Yes, you can also reverse other things aside from directions. You can reverse a decision, which means that you want to go back on a decision that you have made. You can also reverse a trend if something is going towards a direction. For instance, the economy is having an upward trend. Something can happen to reverse the economy and make it go down, make it go backwards. So reverse just means going backwards, and it can be applied to many different situations. Now, rather, Mercury in retrograde is an illusion caused by our perception of Earth's movement in relation to Mercury. So basically, Mercury isn't really going backwards. It's actually an illusion. An illusion is an idea that isn't correct. It's a wrong idea, and it's usually something that you think about or that you see, but it isn't the way it actually is. So I could say as an example that Mary has the illusion that she is going to pass the exam without studying. So Mary thinks, or she has the idea, that she's going to pass the exam without having to study, but actually that's not true. That's not the case.
Indeed. So it's an illusion or something that looks like it's the case, but it really isn't. Of course, magicians use illusion all the time. It looks like they're changing a card into a different denomination or a different value when they actually aren't. So that is an illusion, something you think you're seeing, but you're not really seeing. And it's an illusion here caused by our perception of Earth's movement in relation to Mercury. So yes, your perception is how you see something. And of course, we're on the Earth and the Earth is moving and Mercury is moving as well. And sometimes it does look like Mercury is moving in the opposite direction, even though it never does reverse its direction. I should say that most people would not notice this. You'd have to talk to an astronomer about this. Probably only astronomers are interested in this. And it's not only Mercury that does this. I believe other planets do this as well. And it just refers to their position in the sky against the background of stars. And sometimes it looks like the object, the planet, is moving one direction one day, and then it's going the other direction on another day.
Right. So this illusion is created by our perception of Earth's movement in relation to Mercury. So the phrase in relation to is used to talk about something that's connected with something else that you're talking about. And here, Earth's movement is being considered in relation to Mercury. So that's what the phrase in relation to is about. And going forward, it's much like when you pass a car in a slightly faster car and it looks like the other car is going backwards. And that has happened to me before. I'm in a car or in a train, actually. It's more evident when you're on a train and you're going forward and there's a train on a track next to yours, parallel to yours, and it seems like the other train is going backwards, but actually it's because the train that you're on is going faster than the other train.
It's a similar concept, and we're going to talk some more about this situation in the next part of our lesson. Let's move on.
Because astrologers link Mercury to the Roman god of the same name, who was said to rule over travel, business, finance, and communication, they claim that Mercury in retrograde causes bad luck to anyone involved in those activities. According to astronomer Dr. Mark Hammergren, however, this is pure superstition. We don't know of any physical mechanism that would cause things like power outages or personality changes in people. He notes that good and bad things happen all the time, regardless of Mercury's movement. But hey, maybe keep your fingers crossed just in case.
最后第三部分我们看到单字 superstition， 它是名词，指的是迷信。例如 Many people in Asia have superstitions about numbers. 许多亚洲人对数字有迷信。又或者说 It's a superstition that walking under a ladder will bring bad luck. 走在梯子下面会带来厄运，是一种迷信。
Because astrologers link Mercury to the Roman god of the same name, who was said to rule over travel, business, finance, and communication, they claim that Mercury in retrograde causes bad luck to anyone involved in those activities. So here we're looking at the point of view or the opinions of astrologers. So an astrologer is somebody who tells people about their life, their future, based on their reading of the position and movement of the stars. And some people believe in astrologers if they have a question about their future, if they don't know what to do in a particular situation. Should I break up with my boyfriend? Should I leave my job and look for a new one? Should I accept this job? They might go seek the advice of an astrologer.
Right, and of course, people who believe in astrology will be very interested in this concept. Astrologers connect Mercury or they associate Mercury with the Roman god of the same name, who is Mercury. And, of course, the Roman god was said to rule over travel, business, finance, and communication. And they claim that Mercury in retrograde causes bad luck to anyone involved in those activities. So that's according to astrologers. Indeed, if you have some bad things happening to you, and you're involved in business and finance and travel and things like that, well, it could be because Mercury is in retrograde. And according to astronomer Dr. Mark Hammergren, however, this is pure superstition. So here we've got an astronomer who studies the physics of the universe, the planets, galaxies, quasars, supernovas, and things like that. That's what an astronomer studies. And of course, they're not going to believe in astrology. To them, it's nothing but hogwash.
Right. So hogwash would be superstition in this case. A superstition is a belief that some things or some events are lucky or unlucky, or that they cause events to happen based on notions of magic, of good luck or bad luck. For instance, one superstition is that you're not supposed to walk under a ladder because something bad might happen to you. Or if a black cat walks across your path, then that also might mean something bad will happen to you. Those are all examples of superstitions.
Every culture does have superstitions to some degree. And here's what this astronomer went on to say. We don't know of any physical mechanism that would cause things like power outages or personality changes in people. So yes, indeed, this person is dealing with science and reality. There's no physical mechanism that would cause these things. Physical just means something that really exists. It's not superstition. It's not hogwash. It's not an illusion. And yes, there's no physical mechanism. A mechanism, of course, is a system that causes something to happen. If your watch is broken, you might have to see if something's wrong with the mechanism or the way the machine works. So yeah, there's no physical means or physical mechanism that would cause things like power outages. Those might come from solar flares. That's actually a physical mechanism that could cause a power outage. Or a personality change. Yes, there's really no way to know if someone's personality changes as the result of Mercury moving the other direction.
Right. And a note on the word physical. We usually think of the word physical as something related to the body, and the opposite of physical would be mental or psychological. But here, as Roger mentioned, physical means related to things that are real, things that can be touched and seen, rather than abstract ideas. So here, the opposite of physical would not be mental, but rather abstract.
Exactly. Okay, so yeah, this particular astronomer is being very practical here. There's no physical mechanism that would explain these things. And here's the final paragraph. It says, he notes or he points out that good and bad things happen all the time, regardless of Mercury's movement. Maybe it's just a coincidence that you're having a bad day and Mercury is in retrograde. There are lots of coincidences that happen in life that people think, oh, that must mean something. It must mean something's amiss or something's out of whack in the stars.
Yes, and he says, well, these things happen all the time. And all the time here doesn't mean literally all the time, like nonstop, but all the time means quite often, quite common. It's quite common that it happens. And these things happen regardless of Mercury's movement. Regardless of refers to something that happens that is not affected or influenced by other things. In other words, he's saying that good and bad things happen anyway, and these things are not affected or influenced by other things, such as the movements of planets.
Right, regardless of, I could say, for example, I'm going to Tainan regardless of the weather. If it rains, if there's a typhoon, I'm still going. Nothing's going to stop me. But hey, maybe keep your fingers crossed just in case. We do have a superstition. If you cross your fingers, that means something won't happen or something bad might not happen if you keep your fingers crossed, or you hope that something does happen that's unlikely to happen. Keep your fingers crossed. We may actually make some money in this deal. And just in case just means you do something, even though it's probably not going to happen, but you do it anyway as a precaution.
Right, so I could say bring a sweater just in case. Even though it's hot now, it might get cold later. And as for the phrase, keep your fingers crossed, sometimes when you're talking colloquially, you can just shorten it to fingers crossed, meaning I hope the best for you. I hope it's going to be successful.
Okay, we're at the end of our explanation. Let's turn things over now to Hanny.
各位同学大家好，我是 Hanny。 我们来看今天的文法重点。课文第二部分有一句写到，水星逆行是我们对地球的运行相对于水星的感知所造成的一种错觉。那文中是用名词 perception 来表达感知感觉，视觉上的感知感觉。那它也有洞察力啊、看法、见解等等的意思。它的动词是 perceive。那我们来学它的字首字根。好，看到 CAP。或是 CEIVE 或是 CEPT 这一类字根呢，表示拿取、掌握或是接受的意思。那在 perceive 这个字当中，它的字首 PER 表示完全贯穿，那么字根 CEIVE 表示接受。当我们完全接受、全心全意的接受某事物，才能够好好的去察觉、理解它。那这样也许可以联想到 perceive 它有认知、察觉、意识到的那种意思。好，那也补充两个有相同字根的单字。第一个是 deceive， 它的字首第一有分离、否定的语义。那么字根 sieve 是取得，那同学们可以试着想，以不好的方式或是不当的方式去取得，那就有欺骗、欺诈的语义咯。deceive 这个动词就表示欺骗或是蒙蔽。那么第二个补充的是 receive， 它的字首 re 有往回的意思，字根 sieve 表示拿取。那从字面意思来看就是取回嘛，所以 receive 它有接收、收到的意思。好，那课文第三部分则出现了 astrologer 和 astronomer 这两个补充单字。 astrology 是占星学、占星术，那么 astrologer 就是占星师、占星家了。Astronomy 是天文学，那么 astronomer 就是天文学家。那这边我们来介绍一下相关的字根哦。在古希腊文里面ASTRON 这是表达复数的星星 the stars， 那么 ASTER 这是表达单数的星星 a star， 所以带有这个 ASTRO 或者是 ASTER 这两个字根的字都会跟这种星星啊、天体有关。像 astronomy 这个字根 ASTRO表示星星，那么字尾 NOMY 这是表达学科，跟星星有关的学科，就很容易联想到 astronomy 是指天文学。好，那如果我们把这个字尾 NOMY 改成 LOGY 会变成 astrology。 那刚刚说这个字尾 LOGY 它是指学说，跟星星有关的学说，应该可以联想到 astrology 它是表达占星学、占星术。好，另外再补充一个单字是 constellation CONSTELLATION。 好，那看到它中间有一个这个字根 STELLA， 它是指星星，因为在拉丁文里面这个 stella S-T-E-L-L-A 就是 star 星星的意思。好，那它的字首 C-O-N 表示一起，最后的 T-I-O-N 是名词字尾。同学们就可以用很多星星聚集在一起去联想说 constellation 它有星座、星群、星宿的意思。好，那以上是今天重点整理，我们回顾今天单字吧。
Annually. Our local summer music festival attracts thousands of visitors annually. Reverse. Amber reversed her car to make room for a large delivery truck to pass in front of her. Illusion. The artist used a combination of techniques to give the painting an illusion of depth. Perception. Stanley's perception of the music was affected by the heavy echoes produced by the room. Superstition. Monica believes in the superstition that black cats bring bad luck. Physical. The physical world is governed by a variety of natural laws. Mechanism. Dr. Lang hopes to determine the mechanism behind the chemical reaction through further experiments.
Discussion Starter starts now!
Here's our discussion starter. Do you agree with the view that astrological beliefs are pure superstition? Why or why not?
No, I disagree with that view considering that we don't know everything that happens in the universe, and just because we don't have proof of something doesn't mean that that thing is a superstition.
Well, yes, I think such beliefs are merely superstitions, since astronomers have pointed out that all the dates of the constellations and of the signs of the zodiac are all wrong. Those dates were determined way back centuries ago. They've all changed now, and in fact, we've actually got 13 constellations in the sky, not just 12.
Well, everyone, today's article has come to an end, and I sure hope you enjoy reading along with us. I am Helen.
I am Roger.
See you next time.